College Football 27 has a lot of new features that you need to know about, especially if you play Dynasty Mode as much as I do. Now, have no worries, I'm going to walk you through everything in this video and show you what I've discovered along the way, as I've already done 3 or 4 seasons in Dynasty so far, and I'm going to show you what's been enjoyable, but what's also made it more challenging than in years past. Welcome to College Football 27's new Dynasty Mode, and you are already seeing off the rip there is a lot of new stuff. So let's just say you have a team in mind, you want to rebuild the Delaware Blue Hens, which I'm here to tell you is going to be a lot harder than you think, because if you look where it says school info, the available Dynasty points, and I will be talking about Dynasty points a ton, you only have 100 to work with. Now, with Dynasty points, it goes towards your staff, your facilities, your recruiting NIL, but then also your current roster NIL. So the more points you have, the more you have to spend, which obviously will help your recruiting class and your transfer portals, get you better facilities, better supporting staff, and then also go into your staff after the season if you want new coordinators. But then you're also going to see your AD expectations. So the school demeanor is balanced, and you can have balance, you can have patient, you can have impatient. Balance means that passing or failing goals affects your job security at a normal rate, which your goals are the important things that you need to accomplish along the way to help you keep your job, but also helps you get more Dynasty points. And for a team that only has 100, I need every single one of these possible. So they want you to upgrade to a competitive facility in the next 3 seasons, which will help you get 250 Dynasty points. They also want you to win 75% of your conference games this season, which will help give you 500 Dynasty points, and win 25% of your home games this season to get 50 Dynasty points. It'll also show you your school grades, which affects your Dynasty points as well, and I'll show you that here in a second. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to select Delaware. I'm going to select East Carolina because they are one of the top teams with the smaller schools that have 2,045 Dynasty points to work with. So when we load up East Carolina, this is the team I'm going to pick. Blake Harrell is the head coach, and it shows their goals to the right side and everything that I want to focus on this season. And those goals will change depending on how your season went. So after a successful first season, the expectations are raised. The bar is raised by the AD, so those goals will be a little bit harder. If you have a bad season, if you still have a job, those expectations will reset. So they will reset after the season and give you 3 new goals depending on how your season goes. So the very first thing you'll see is where it says hire staff and manage blueprint, which is key because your Dynasty points are on the top right of your screen, and now they're going to be shown here, 2,045 for East Carolina. And as I showed you, not every team has that many to work with, but we're kind of just building with a blank canvas here at East Carolina. And when it says hire staff, this isn't talking about your coordinators. This is talking about your support staff. So you can go in here and you can select affordable, bronze level, silver, gold, platinum level support staff. And I'll show you exactly what those are. Like assistant contract analyst says reduce NIL expectations. You can also get increased in your Dynasty points when the season ends and your end of season recap happens. This is the one I usually do the most. It's only 150 at this level. Like I said, you can go up to silver if you want to, which is just more expensive, but you also get more on the back end at the end of the season. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to go with bronze and do the Dynasty points increase with the fundraising coordinator. I'm going to hire them. 150 turns into 250 points at the end of the season. It's kind of an investment. Now, you could do a second one if you wanted to. Some teams only have one depending on your team prestige, but I'm just going to do the one for now. Next up is managing your facilities. I can upgrade the facility as a whole for 450, or I could come down here and I can select individual things that I want to get with equipment. So as you see here, you can get a heart rate vest, which reduces the wear and tear. It's 600, but it drastically reduces everything. But the lifespan shows you here, it only lasts 4 weeks. So to be honest with you, I don't usually get any of these until the season starts, and I'll go to bronze or silver depending on how many points I have. Because remember, those Dynasty points goes towards your recruiting class as well. And if you want a good recruiting class, you need to invest NIL in all of these high school players. All right, so we looked at our staff and we looked at our facilities. That is the only thing you can do in the preseason. So if you look at the bottom there, it says week 0, preseason to end season, which is right now. There's only 1 week left. The only thing you can work on is your staff and your facilities. Now, next we're going to the end season section, which means you can work on your facilities. And of course, we will be recruiting all season long. Now, if you don't want to mess with any of this and you just want the computer to do it for you, you just want to play the game, you can come down here and actually have the computer set everything for you during the entire season, but you can also change if you want developmental, recruit and retain, and as you can see, it changes the percentages on the right side of where your NIL money is going towards, and the computer will do it for you. So if you just want to focus on recruiting and retaining players, if you're doing a long-term rebuild, this is probably the one you want to do. But honestly, for me, I like having full control of the blueprint because you're not just controlling a football team now. You are running an entire football program just like real life. But now it's time to recruit, and this is honestly where you will see the biggest impact for NIL. Yes, there are going to be plenty of two-star players that would love to come to East Carolina, and it shows that some of them, and these are the ones that are great to go after if you're a really small school and you don't have any dynasty points, you have 100 total to work with, you are searching for these 0 NIL players. But if you say, hey, I really need a quarterback, I have some dynasty points to work with, I want to get at least a 4-star player, let's see who we can find, and maybe we can throw some NIL his way. So let's just say Walter Harbor is the guy we want. He is the answer at East Carolina. I'm going to put him on the recruiting board. And for the first week, you can't offer any scholarships or do anything like that yet. You have to scout for the first week, which I honestly enjoy because, like I said, everything here is blocked out for that first week. So go ahead and scout them and take advantage while you can. Boom. What do you know? We actually found a gem. Surprise, surprise. So he's a 4-star. He's got 88 throwing power. Throwing the run looks great. Everything looks great. This is the guy that we need at East Carolina. So before I fast forward to the next week, another thing that you can capitalize on to help get you some more points and build your brand exposure, which I'll show you here in a second, is by scheduling harder games. As you can see, they already play Alabama at Alabama. Shout out to the Crimson Tide. But if you want to say, nah, let's not play an FCS team, let's try to play another ranked team, let's play Houston. I think that we can beat Houston as a team like East Carolina. They're a lower ranked. They're 21st, but I think Houston's very beatable. Playing these two games, and especially winning these two games, will help get your brand exposure up as well. All right, fast forward to the next week. We are not on Walter Harbor's radar. He has no interest in East Carolina right now, but that can change drastically by offering him NIL. So as you see here on the screen, it shows you your dynasty points remaining at the top, which, as I said, East Carolina has a lot. So your team, that if you're trying to rebuild a small school, will not have anywhere near this amount. So it's going to be almost impossible to get a 4-star player, especially with the full class. And he's expecting 245, but he has no actual interest in East Carolina, so you have to increase this. And as you see, his interest goes up a little bit. He's still just neutral, but if you get, I mean, obviously you don't want to throw too much money at a big name player, but let's just say, like, this is the one guy we definitely want. He is now slightly interested with 2 green boxes in his interest. I want him to be at 4 because we have plenty of dynasty points for East Carolina. So let's boost him all the way up to 440. Now, the one thing you want to remember is that this is probably the lowest amount of NIL you will give this player. So say you land Walter Harbor, he's your quarterback, he has a great first season. Now going into his second season, he's going to want more NIL to stick around, or he's going to threaten to transfer. So just keep that in mind. But then also keep in mind, these dynasty points are critical because they go towards your recruiting, but also your transfer portal at the end of the season when you want to get players, and your staff if you want to hire new coordinators. So use these points wisely. Don't just throw them all at one player like I just did. But if you have it like East Carolina does, then you can spend it. But just remember, you have to do an entire class, and almost every player wants NIL if you want quality players. So now if we look, because of the NIL package that we offered him, he now has East Carolina as second. We still have a lot of work to do. There is a chance that we could get him, but this just shows you have to be careful with where you try to spend your NIL because you might not even land this guy, but thankfully you get your NIL dynasty points back. But at this point, I'm at week 2 of the season. You should have your entire recruiting board filled out and not just one player like I have for the sake of this video. But just remember, you have to spread it out equally across the entire roster so you can get a full recruiting class. Something else that's new in Dynasty Mode is setting your weekly practice plan, which I honestly really enjoy because especially when you get towards the end of the season, your players are going to be worn down. So we just lost to Alabama. They roughed us up, so we're a little sore right now. So For Preston Carr, for instance, defensive tackle, he's one of our best players. He has no practice listed because of the damage he took during the game. He probably got injured, but it also shows you if you force him to have a full practice, his risk of injury is high, even after just 1 week. So maybe you want to limit him or even give him the week off to where you can help him preserve not only his season career health, but also his career. So if you have like a freshman who's getting banged up or this sophomore, you don't want to wear him down to where he's just an injured, riddled player by the time he's a senior. But then also some of these other players that are your best guys, you don't want to wear them out too early in the season. But you'll see once you get into like that second half of the season, players are going to be banged up. Their arms are going to be orange and some will be red. Their legs are going to be injured, stuff like this. Like this guy, for instance, you can give him no practice, so he's not going into the game with any kind of dings. So say Ashton Gray is your starting running back. If you have him in a limited practice, he's going to go into the game with -1 break tackle, -1 carrying, -1 catching, -1 change of direction, and he has a risk of injury going into the game. So maybe we give him the week off. His risk of injury is low. He's good to go. And you can do this for every single player and then just confirm, bam, your players are good to go. It also shows you any kind of experience upgrades they get for practicing, increased composure, decreased composure because you didn't practice. All of that is here, but you have full control over who practices, but then also the wear and tear of your players. Now, I talked about your blueprint and how you can manage it. As you see at the bottom, now we are at that end season point for your blueprint. There's 15 weeks left, so the only thing you can work on is your recruiting NIL and your facilities. So if you go over to your recruiting NIL, it'll show you, obviously I just have this one player right now, but if you want to take a look at how much you have invested in each player, it'll show you here, and maybe you're going to be like, okay, maybe I should back off of Walter Harbor. I'm offering him too much, and I need to spread it out and get some more players. You can see all of that here. But you can also go into the recruiting screen, and it'll show you what other teams are working with and how much they're spending on NIL. So right now you can look at your own conference if you wanted to. So if I go over to the American Conference here, I can see how all of my competition is doing. And obviously being week 2, there's not a lot going on here. But then also I can look at teams like the SEC who have a ton of NIL points to work with. As we get later in the season, we'll see more of this. All right, so let's fast forward. I simmed to the end of the season. We went 2-10. As you can see, our job security says we are on the hot seat. So we have to fire some staff. We need new coordinators. So we're going to fire our offensive coordinator. And we are also going to fire the defensive coordinator. And now I can show you how to send offers to offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator with your Dynasty points. Another new feature for College Football 27 Dynasty Mode is the Heisman Trophy ceremony. So instead of just telling you who wins the Heisman, there is an actual full-on ceremony that takes place, which could be whatever. If your player is not there, or you still might want to watch it in case it's like a player you went up against or whatever. But if your player is here, then it adds a lot of excitement because you don't know if you're going to win the Heisman or not until this moment. Some people will skip it, but I think it's something worth watching if your player's there. Just a small upgrade for EA Sports, but I still think it's a win because it just adds a little bit more detail and realism to the game for what the actual ceremony looks like. Now, as we fast forward to bowl season, you see at the bottom of the screen there, we're in this 4-week period where we can manage our staff. And this is different than what we saw from the beginning of the video when you could only add support staff. Now you can actually go after new coordinators. And after going 2-10, like I said, I already fired my coordinators. Now I need to find new ones. So something new that you'll recognize for College Football 27 is when you go to hire staff, you can actually look at the different candidates for your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, and it also shows you how much NIL they're expected. So Matt Rule apparently got fired from Nebraska. Now he's looking for a new coaching position. Obviously, he's probably going to want to be a head coach. So his interest is very low as your offensive coordinator. But we could go after a guy like Jeff Lebby if we really, really wanted him. And let's just say we did. So I'm going to put him on here, and I'm going to make him an offer. He's expecting $385, and our current offer is just a little bit too low. So if we crank it up a little bit, we see his interest. He's like, okay, maybe I will go there because they're willing to give me a lot. So let's just say we want to give him $400. We'll make that offer. Now he is there. We can edit it. We can withdraw that offer. We can do whatever. But say we're not done. Say we're like, okay, if we miss out on him, we need a backup option that's maybe just a little bit cheaper. So let's say we want to go after Lance Taylor at Western Michigan. He only wants $250, so let's make him an offer for a backup plan just in case. We'll give him $260. Let's just say this is a guy that we feel pretty good about, and we can do the same for defensive coordinator. You can also sort it by NIL, but also interest. If you want to go after a big name, though, like Matt Rule, he wants $895. That is a lot. But same thing for defensive coordinator. Say we really want Chuck Martin from Miami, Ohio. We're going to add him on here. We're going to make him an offer, and we're going to boost his up. So once again, we see our dynasty points going down, but honestly, we have a lot right now. This is a lot more than you will actually have. But this is just to show you how much it really takes to get some of these coaches and coordinators with different offers. So we'll give one more an offer. Let's just say we'll go with Sean Quinn from Liberty. Same thing. We'll give him a good little bit. We'll go over just in case so we know we will get him as our backup plan if we don't land our number one option. So we back up, we take a look, we see our offensive coordinator and our defensive coordinator options here. It shows you how much you have invested in them. So if Jeff Lebby goes somewhere else, he goes down to Lance Taylor, and then Lance Taylor can say if he's interested or not. But it just shows you that you can have 6 coordinator candidates filled out and shows you the offers and everything. This is a big upgrade over what we've had in the past. But then you can also look at your job offers. Of course, we just went 2-10, so there's not going to be a ton of teams, looking for us. But Kansas has a lot of interest in us being their head coach. But it also shows you right now, we had 2,725 dynasty points as a team. If you go to Kansas, you're only working with 495, so it is a lot harder. Same with Temple. It drops down to 155. It shows you the other openings from around there. Ryan Day went to the NFL, so you could express interest in Ohio State. We're probably not going to get that. But you can express interest in these schools, but you're not guaranteed, as it says, to get those offers for those jobs. But if there's a lot of interest like Kansas, you probably will get it because you're first on their list. But let's just say I don't want to do that. I am ready to build East Carolina to the top from the bottom and make them a dynasty. So we fast forward and bam, it shows that Lance Taylor accepted our offer to become the offensive coordinator, which means that we missed out on Lebby. But now it's time to take a look at the next season roster NIL, also facility upgrades, and then looking at the blueprint to see how everything looks for the program. So if we head over here to the roster NIL, it'll show you players that are at risk of leaving. So this guy, for instance, he's our best player, Ray Joseph. We don't want him to leave, but he wants to go to a championship contender. Maybe we can throw him a little bit of NIL, and we can see as this boosts up, it shows how much unspent we have. And just remember, we do have the transfer portal coming up, so we can't spend all of this on one player. But if I can get him back at about 295 or 300, it's probably going to be worth it. But as we're at 325, 330, it's not going down any. His risk of leaving is still beat red. He's gone. There is no saving Ray Joseph. He is gone, so we're going to move on to somebody else. I'm going to put that all the way down to 0. Maybe our 77 overall running back who has pro potential is willing to stay for another year. And as you see, just boosting him up to 25, which is what he expected. His risk of leaving is extremely low. I'll even give him 30 since it's not that much. Same with our free safety, pro potential 25. Looks like he's willing to stay. You want to make sure you get back as many players as you can, the ones you want to keep around. But you also have to keep in mind the players that you recruited that are coming in. So if you have a ton of running backs coming in, say you signed 3 in your last recruiting class, maybe you don't care as much about bringing back this 77 because you just got a 4-star or whatever. But it is all about balance with your points, with the positions you have. But then also keep in mind, once again, the transfer portal is coming up. All right, then same thing, we can look at our facility, and we do have an upgrade available for 450 dynasty points, but I only have 670 left, and we haven't hit the transfer portal, so I might have to skip that. But I can come down here and really look at anything I want, especially with wear and tear or the athletic facility grade. If I'm close to bumping that up, maybe that's worth doing, but I'm still just going to be at a D-. So for me, it's not worth it. I'm just going to skip this and get right to the transfer portal with my 670 dynasty points. All right, before we hit the transfer portal, we do have players that are leaving. So even after raising some NIL and trying to convince them to stay, there are players that are still willing to leave, and you'll get that NIL back. It shows you how much you have invested in them, but you can still persuade them one last time. So say Johnny Williams, we really want him. He's a 76 redshirt freshman. He's great to have around. His chances of persuading are very high, and he doesn't take much NIL towards him. So boom, he decided to stay. Same with Aiden. Let's see if we can keep him around. He decided to stay despite our F grade. And that's our two highest overall players that were actually willing to stay. So I wanted to use it on them. But you got those two persuasions to use. And once again, use them wisely. Use them on players that you can actually have a chance of sticking around. So now we're at the transfer portal part of the off season, and we need to hit this heavy. Like I said, we just had a 2-10 season. We need to get some better players here. Let me clear up some room. And we can already see the players that we did sign, but we got a bunch of 2-stars. I want to hit this heavy. I want to get a big player in the transfer portal. I have 870 NIL points to work with, so I'm going to go heavy. I'm going to go up here. I want us to get a big name quarterback. Let's see if we can get a 4-star quarterback with a big NIL package. We need it, to be honest with you, and we have 3 that we can work with. So obviously the deal breakers look good. They all have playing time, and that's an A+ here. You will play as much as you want. So I'm going to go after this guy. I am going heavy on him, so I'm going to go down to quarterback. I'm going to say Tunyon. Eric Tunyon is the guy, and I'm going to go to offer scholarship. And as of right now, the Dynasty Points shows that we have 605. It shows that he's expecting 265, but he's not even interested in East Carolina. So we're going to have to boost this up a lot. He's only at 1 box, 2 box. Let's get him all the way up. I'm willing to throw the bag. This is the next big-time quarterback here. 5. You know what? 530. He is very interested. That's a lot. And once again, that's probably the least amount that you'll ever have to pay him NIL-wise. But we need a quarterback. I need to win or I'm going to lose my job. So we retained some players. We had a decent recruiting class come in. Not the best because a bunch of 2-stars. But I am focused on getting the top quarterback in the transfer portal, and I still have 340 remaining, but I do want to keep as many as I can. Like, once again, you have your recruiting coming up for next season, all that good stuff. So let's go to the next week and see if we are even on his radar after throwing an NIL bag his way. All right, so we weren't able to get our quarterback, so I am pivoting to Justin Crandall here from Tennessee. I'm going to see if we can try to throw him the NIL bag, and now that we have our NIL points back in our pocket, and see if we can get us at least a 3-star quarterback. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to offer him a scholarship, and I'm going to boost this up. But thankfully, he's not expecting nearly as much. I am going to offer him 110. He's all the way up, so I feel good about this. Once again, East Carolina was nowhere on his radar, but fast forward a week, let's see if he actually wants to come to the Pirates. And just like that, because of our NIL package, Crandall has the Pirates as his #1 option. So we're going to recruit him like we would any other time. We're going to send the house at him and hopefully land him in this class. We did get our quarterback, so the NIL package worked, and he wasn't even considering East Carolina Pirates. Just like in real life, though, money talks, and we ended up getting our quarterback. Now we are ready to go into our second season at East Carolina. I have 620 Dynasty points to work with after hitting the transfer portal, after getting the staff, and after that off-season reset that we talked about. Now we can set up the blueprint for the next season. We can do the same thing with our staff and our facilities. And then, of course, we'll have to set up the recruiting for next year's class. And same thing, Dynasty points matter. So make sure you have enough to work with. And we are back up to 1,110 for this recruiting class, which will hopefully be better than last year when we had a bunch of 2-stars. But I hope you all enjoyed the video and figured out how you need to approach Dynasty mode. And the biggest thing, once again, is your Dynasty blueprint and all of your Dynasty points. Spend them wisely, but also know when you're allowed to spend them and how you can spread it out evenly to where your staff, your facilities, but then also your recruiting NIL, your current roster NIL, and the transfer portal can be used effectively. If you run out of Dynasty points, you're going to struggle struggle big time, so just keep that in mind. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let me know in the comments below who you are running in your first Dynasty mode on College Football 27.